Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 253 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed a Virginia-based MC. His name is Caspa Clark. Caspa had a really inspiring message to share, and really just his story in general is very inspiring to share today on the podcast. We got connected through Dom. Once again, as always, shout out to Dom for sending me awesome individuals to interview in the recent months. But Caspa, went over his story about being originally from Rhode Island, the troubles he had at home as a youth, living in a group home, how he learned to write and rap around that time of his life, kind of the years of living on the road around the country as well. Which is pretty much just him and a guitar, trying to make it work, trying to learn the ropes of, being an entertainer, being a musician, and how it's eventually led him to being an artist today. He talked also about being able to basically be where he's at now, which is starting to reach a level of prosperity in his life, while he's still balancing a 9-to-5, his family, and music in general. He's talked about some of the individuals who have helped him in recent years to continue to see growth, really just where he's aiming to go from here in his journey overall. And I don't know if he was setting out to be super inspirational in this episode. He was really just telling his story, but I think you guys are going to get a lot of good notes from this episode and really good key points to take away from this episode. So I hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I did. And without further ado, let's get into it. So welcome everyone to episode 253 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today we have an awesome MC. He's based out of Virginia. I can tell he's been on some records with some pretty big names as well. Got a lot of music out there. Everybody, please welcome Caspa Clark to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And like I said, thanks for being here. And I know you said this is technically your first podcast. So I'm happy to be the first podcast to have you on, man. And I'm excited. And we usually have the guest give some background, how you got into music, all that good stuff. And I know from doing some research on your career and just you as a person, you've had quite the inspiring journey, honestly. That's how I would describe it. But how would you describe your own journey and kind of your beginnings and to where you are now?
Well, the very start of my musical journey would be with my father. He had records upon records in the house. I stayed in his house till I was about 12 years old, where I transitioned into a group home because of some family issues going on in my life. So I kind of honed in on the music, listening to it at my father's house. And then when I got into the group home, there wasn't really much to hone onto with entertainment purposes, with honing in on a craft. So instead of kind of honing in on the negativity going on around me, I chose to start writing rhymes and to start rapping with people, doing kind of open shows and stuff for the group home. That became really the only focus I had that kept me away from all the drug dealing and all the negativity going on around me, the fighting and all that type of stuff. So really, that's where the journey started.
Yeah, for sure. And you were originally based in, I believe, Rhode Island, right? You're from Providence,
Correct.
Rhode Island.
So my dad lived in Coventry, Rhode Island, which is about 15 minutes from Providence, Rhode Island. It's only 45 minutes of a state you can drive through.
Yeah.
It's a tiny
I was going to
place.
say, I know nothing about it because I haven't been to that part of the country, but I know that it's not very big. And I'm kind of interested to know like how you ended up because I don't know the full story, obviously, but like, how did you eventually end up to where you are now in Virginia? And was there anything in between that was kind of like some little, pit stops along the way as well?
It's a very long story, but yes, there is a long episode of events. So in Providence, Rhode Island, there's a lot of gang activity happening. I didn't want to be a part of that. I thought I did at one point in my life. I thought it was the cool thing. You want to be a part of something. I have a very dysfunctional family. I wanted to be a part of something. I thought it was cool at a young age. I found out quickly that this is not the life I wanted to live. So instead of hanging out in the city and doing the things that I was bound to do at that point, I decided to leave. I gathered a backpack, a guitar. I eventually had a dog. I was hopping trains, hitchhiking, going any route that I could around the country, and going to music festivals. Once a year, I'd go up to Northern California. I'd trim a little bit of marijuana, bring it down to Southern California, sell it to the dispensaries down there for some extra cash, busk up the rest with my guitar, rapping over some. I only had the guitar because I like to rap, and I needed something to back up my rap. So then I put out a guitar case on the street wherever I was. Vegas was my really main hit because I would make probably 3 times the amount and the time any other city in Vegas because of how many tourists are pumping through there. That's one of the things that they go for, is to see the buskers and stuff like that. That'd be one of my main hubs. I'd make a bunch of cash, and then I'd travel around playing shows with friends or attending shows with friends, Grateful Dead shows, anything that has to do with music. Did that for 8 years. Then my son was born, and we named him Raylan after the railroad because I'm pretty sure he was conceived on the railroad. So yeah, it's a pretty long, drawn out story that I couldn't wrap up really in 30 or 45 minutes, but I mean, that's the gist of the traveling adventure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I gotta say, just to get it out there now, definitely hats off to you, man. Just from being able to, like you said, being surrounded by a lot of negative energy and just things early on that could have kind of swayed your life in a totally different direction, to kind of make the choice of going the route that you did. And I can imagine it wasn't easy, and probably still to this day, a lot of that stuff's not easy. But I gotta say, just being able to do that and, make a better life for yourself and your family and just everyone around you, I think it takes a lot, you know what I mean? So I got to give you your flowers on that, first of all. 'Cause I know that's just such an incredible story and incredible journey. And just being able to, like you said, for 8 years, just kind of be on the grind too, and just kind of be hopping city to city, and doing that too. I know that takes a lot as well. So that's truly awesome, truly incredible.
It took a lot of energy, saw a lot of the dark corners of the planet, but I really got a lot of experience out of it and got to grow. And it's kind of like when the natives used to send their children off into the woods and make them find their way back, I kind of think. And I kind of got to live that journey through the concrete jungle, at least.
Yeah. It's like getting lost to get found, you know what I mean, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly.
That's incredible. And it's great to know that music has been a part of your journey for this long as well. And I think that kind of leads us to where we are now with what you're doing musically. And I know even just recently you've done a lot, dropping a lot of different singles, promoting your stuff. You've done songs with Blueface. You've done songs this year with Dave East, some other big names as well. Talk about what you've been doing since the top of this year, maybe even into last year, and kind of just where you are now in your career. Like, do you feel like you've gotten to a point where you're starting to see a lot of progress in what you're trying to do musically? And where do you think it's going to go from here as well? And kind of like, what are your goals for, coming up for the rest of the year as well?
I'd say probably I'd want to start off with saying that about 2 years ago, I honed in on actually purchasing equipment, purchasing industry type beats, and all, as well as features. I really kind of honed in on, I didn't know anything about really technology because, like I said, I traveled for 8 years when everybody else was honing in on technology, getting smartphones, figuring out social media. I was not in touch with that whatsoever. I was very behind. So I had to catch up with all of that. But my dad was into computer technology my whole childhood. So we had computers in my, till I was about 12 years old, till I went to that group home. So it didn't really take me a lot to figure out. So I started purchasing first a microphone that I could record professional vocals on, then a DAW. I tried out 4 different DAWs before I figured one out that I could actually understand and was user-friendly. I found FL Studio was my favorite out of the 4 I tried, I think. Bought a mixing board, bought the monitors. I just started purchasing equipment until I had something that I could actually record professional vocals on. Then it took me to learn each and every piece of it, of course, one by one. Well, I'm juggling my 9 to 5. I take care of my special ed sister as well as my mother, which has dementia. That's only been for the last 2 years. I've been juggling that as well as the music and being the only income in the household with 2 children and my girlfriend and everything. So I'm taking care of a big household. Laying down 2 tracks a day on Thursday, as well as Monday, because those are my only 2 days off during the week. And I'm taking Sunday as a family day. And kind of doing this as really treating it as if it is an extra job in order to get it done. I've been working with this mixing engineer for a while in Nigeria and helping his family to overcome their circumstances, which are kind of rough. The mixes started coming out a little rougher than I imagined. It was a lot of work trying to translate what I'm trying to tell him I want with the songs. But I had found that a producer I've been working with that has a lot of good beats and has been building his following. He sells mixes for about the same price. So I started working with him, and they're coming out a lot more professional, a lot more decent sounding. But to answer your question even more deep, I'm working a FedEx job. So while I'm doing this FedEx job, that's when I'm writing all of my music while I'm juggling, jumping out, and delivering these packages. That's when I'm putting my phone up into the air in the van and playing my music and creating my reels so that people can know that the music is there. So it's a circus.
Yeah.
It's a circus juggle, to say the least.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. I definitely can relate in a lot of ways. And I know a lot of the listeners will be able to relate to that too, especially if, you're doing a lot of different things and you have, like you said, a 9 to 5 as well, because you have
Yes.
to make time for everything and everyone in your life, which can be very difficult. And for you, like you said, I imagine that was a learning curve too, because you said earlier that all you had at one point was the guitar, you know what I mean? And then you go from that to having to learn, like you said, studio setups and everything. And they're not going to be able to see your studio. I'm looking at it right now, but you got a great setup there.
Thank you.
So pretty jealous of that setup, honestly. He's got the mixing console, he's got the MIDI controllers, he's got all that. Uh, so yeah, it's very impressive. And again, hats off to you for being able to do that and try to find the balance as well. And I think that kind of leads into, the next question, which would be talking about kind of more in depth on kind of balancing everything you have in your life at this point in time. Is there any point in time where you're able to kind of just, do something completely unrelated to creativity or any of the things you mentioned? Maybe like a hobby or exercising, walking, clearing your mind, anything like that you've been doing recently, or anything that you want to do moving forward to kind of help, maintain the balance, if you will?
Yes. I really had to find that balance. I was struggling with mental health because of past traumas I had with my mother and my family, and bringing them back into my life after years of them not being back in my life was very difficult for me. And then the energy that I put into work as well as my craft and parenting and being a good boyfriend and, all of the above that I've mentioned. I kind of guess I was over or undercharging my battery. So I really had to find a balance. So every day I like to start my day off where I do a oming ritual, just kind of something to bring a vibration to kind of numb all the thoughts, just bring me to a peace. I do a meditation routine. I have severe back problems and do a very physical job on top of that. So I do a lot of stretches and yogas and stuff like that. Then I just really try to take at least an hour or two to really appreciate my family, appreciate my higher power, sit and think about all the stuff that I've been through over the years, over the road, all the things that I've seen, all the negative stuff I've been involved in, and then how I'm at this point in my life where there's just peace. It's my children. Now, of course, I have my trials and tribulations still, but I'm finding in a zone where I can balance it and deal with my past traumas head on.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm doing with the music. It's like a diary I get to share with the world.
I always say too that the music in a way is its own form of therapy. You know what I mean? Because it allows you to be able to express those emotions in a much different way than you could, just kind of on your own. It's like another vehicle for doing that as well. But I think everything you just said goes a long way, and it is super important. And I think a lot of people can kind of overlook that stuff as well, or maybe think it's not for them. But I think when you try out certain things and when you find what works for you as an individual, then it becomes a lot more, sustainable, but a lot more important to your life in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you said, like breathing exercises and stretches and things like that, just to start the morning off. That's a huge thing.
How you start your day is very important.
Yeah, for sure. I've even heard, which I'm kind of guilty of not doing this very well, but not getting on your phone immediately to start the day is a big thing too, because you never know what you're gonna see. You know what I mean? Especially with if let's say you get on, Instagram, and the way the algorithm is currently, you can see things you're not even following these accounts. You could see who knows what you're gonna see, and if it's something negative, well, that's the first thing you saw to start the day. So it's like you're already getting off on the wrong foot, and it's not even your fault. You know what I mean? So
just the fact of because I'm pushing 40 years old at this point, just the fact of seeing the change from people's need for attention can really be something that can be a little depressing in the first start of the day.
Yeah.
So looking at that kind of stuff at all really is just not
healthy.
It's not the way to start your day at all.
Yeah.
And you want to know what's going on, and you want to definitely keep up with your things. And you definitely, that's the way I advertise. I definitely want to check in, and if people are commenting on my videos, I want to be respectable enough to respond and say thank you for taking the time to do that. You don't have to take the time. It's my, I'm just some dude making videos of my music. You don't have to like it, but I appreciate that you do, and I want to take the time to thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So
having everything,
it's a hard balance, but it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything is.
I was gonna say too, having everything in moderation, I think, is the big key. Not overdoing it on really any aspect of it is kind of how you maintain that balance at the end of the day. But again, hats off to you, man, for finding that and being able to deal with everything in a healthy way too, because I think that's super super vital. And I wish you continuous success and prosperity in that as well, because I think that's awesome. So
I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely. And is there anything that you have either in the works or coming up, that you want to let people know about? It could be more new music, visuals.
Every Friday I'm dropping music. I'm trying to just keep growing. As I said, I've been juggling all of this, so I've watched my music go from where it sounds almost unlistenable to where I'm impressed with my own music, and it's just I'm at a point where I'm happy to share it. I feel proud when people are listening to it. People are giving me good feedback. I've found a lot of good people to work with and extensions that are helping me to where I don't have to try to juggle it all to myself. And I appreciate those guys very much. And I'm going to keep on purchasing these features. Legendary hip-hop artists that I've always wanted to work with. I have the opportunity. It's an investment to me. And I want to keep on putting out a better and better and better sound and keep evolving and keep the fans that I have gathered at this point happy, and then keep my soul happy by making this music. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. That's all you can do at the end of the day as an artist too. And that's really the whole reason for doing it in general, I think, is to be able to do that, and then to give back to other people in that way through the music is a huge thing. So yeah, and I can imagine with each song, that feeling just gets more and more, prevalent. So that's
my favorite part, is sitting there waiting for the engineer as he's building it. And I know he's there building it, and he's putting out new beats that I get to listen to in the meantime because he works so hard. And then I get that song and I'm like, wow, he put out 3 amazing beats and worked on my song at the same time. And it came from my bedroom, but it sounds like it came from Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And that's just it's kind of almost magical to me, because it's something that's not, it's something created and then put out into the world. And it's just like, in my day, you couldn't do that from your bedroom. And it's still something that blows my mind.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, you just keep racking up those ideas in the meantime. So you're just piling up a lot of great ideas to put out. So that's awesome. So we're down.
I'm not that much of a conversational person. I can bring it to the table, but when it comes to writing songs, that's where I really get what I'm trying to say out to people. I think when I'm trying to say it to people in a conversation, I don't think it comes out the same as when I sit down and actually gather my thoughts into words and put them into a poetic rhythm.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think music it's really a vessel for being able to express those emotions in that way. It's very interesting how things kind of work that way, where, if you were to try and describe something to somebody directly, like you said, it's going to be much more difficult. But if you are expressing it in a song, it just feels more natural, you know what I mean? Especially as someone that is creative. So I definitely can relate to that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I spent a lot of time quiet to myself at these group homes that I spent time in. So it was more of a way of expressing myself without getting myself into some troubles, minding my own business type of deal.
Yeah.
Well, saying what I wanted to say. And then we'd go to these talent shows and I'd get right up into the crowd and I just knew it was what I wanted to do. And then juggling all of these things and then honing in on it. Sometimes it's hard to be proud of myself, but I feel proud of myself, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you have to, man. You have to. And again, when, like you said, when you reflect back on the amount of work you put in and how far you've come too, it makes you appreciate it even more. So I think That's a huge thing also. Yeah. And so we're down to the last few questions here. These are more life-related ones I ask on every episode. And I'm kind of interested to know what your answers are going to be. The first one is, if you can go back 10 years ago and give yourself any piece of advice at all, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
I'd go back and I'd tell myself to be more honest, as well as maybe not as hard on myself. Let myself learn my lessons without self-analyzing so deeply. Maybe just allowing a slap on the wrist to myself.
I like that. And if we flip that then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself on this journey in music and in life?
Okay, in music, I believe that I will finally probably be financially well off enough with my music in 10 years that I can not be spending so much time with a 9-to-5 that I don't like. And I'll be kind of more living because I'll be doing what I like for a living.
Yeah.
In life, I believe that I'll be at a point where I'll have a lot more peace and a lot more, I think I'll have myself more aligned at that point because I'll have gotten through the stages that I'm going through right now. I'm still dealing with a lot of the things that I've been dealing with for the last few years that are really heavy. So I think that I'll be through that and I'll be at a healthier point to really focus on my craft and really bring what I'm trying to bring.
Yeah. Definitely sounds like opportunities for prosperity for sure.
Correct.
Within a lot of that. Yeah. And do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Yeah. Every day, make sure you count your blessings. Make sure anything that you can take out of this life that can be positive. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's the fact that your shoelaces are redder than the shoelaces you had yesterday, and that's your favorite color. Then appreciate those red shoelaces. Appreciate the fact that you woke up on this side of the ground because you never really know when there's going to be a next day. For sure. I've lost a lot of people that we never expected to lose that quickly. And just, make sure that you get your spirituality right with God and whatever it is that brings you to a positive light.
Yeah. Perspective goes such a long way. It really does, for sure.
Really, really.
Well, I got to say, again, man, thank you so much for stopping by today. I thought this was an awesome conversation, very inspiring to me. I know it's going to be very inspiring to everybody that's going to get to hear this one as well. But I got to say, again, man, congrats on everything you're doing, how far you've come, how far you're going to go. And I'm definitely going to stay tapped in with what you're doing because I think you got some really cool stuff going on over there, man. And you're welcome back here anytime. So just feel free to hit me up whenever. We'll make it happen. So
absolutely, and I'd love to be back on your show, and I appreciate your time and having me on your show. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 253. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit that support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send us any funds. Feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. And as always, tune in every Tuesday night, twitch.tv/AnthonyChurch24 for more in-depth and exclusive content. But until next week, we will see you then. Thanks again for listening.